Mm. Okay, I'm here. Alrighty.
Hello, everybody. This is an audio test. Oh, I almost had a burp there. I tried to stop it. That's not my fault. It's biology. I'm sorry. Whoa. God, we haven't even started the show, and I'm already getting crap from David and Pete. Oh, what are we doing? Audio test. No, audio test. Hi, everybody. This is an audio test. It's my birthday. Next Friday. Not this Friday. This is my last day. I'm working today, and then I'm off for a week. So I'm at the end, guys. Who knows what this show's going to be? Hey, Con, how you feeling?
Superb.
Superb.
Yeah.
Is that a?
You,
You don't hear superb used a lot in common conversation. Is that a word you use a lot?
I guess it's just like weird people from Germany who would say that.
You said it, not
They're
me.
funny.
John, how you doing?
I mean, I wouldn't use superb. I think in England that probably would be sarcastic, but I'm pretty good. I'm all right.
I think most of anything anybody says in England is probably sarcastic.
That's true. Yes.
Unless it's negative, then they absolutely mean it. Hey.
Or too nice, then it's also negative.
How you doing, Manuel?
Hey, I'm pretty good. So it's nice, warm, and crisp in here.
Would you use the word superb?
Yeah, every now and then. I know.
See?
Okay.
Brilliant.
Stupid Dog 3 wants to know about splendid. What are your thoughts on splendid as a word?
Do,
It's a-
do, 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 do,
it's a really
do.
You ever used splendid?
Yeah, I did.
Reminds me of Last Samurai. There's some guy who says splendid there quite
Oh,
often.
really?
Yeah, I know.
Do, 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 do.
Only Gen X
Do,
people have
do,
any idea
do,
what
do,
that
do,
is.
do.
I'm so old. All right. So yeah, that is a mildly successful audio test. Successful
Mildly
in that
successful,
we tested the audio,
he says.
and not in that the quality of conversation
Mildly
met any kind
successful.
of threshold for enjoyment. Stay tuned, everybody. The show will begin in approximately, I don't know, 1 minute and 50 seconds. See you then.
That's funny. How are we, chat? I'm doing this a little earlier than usual. So, All right.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Star Citizen Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. What did we call this week's show? Q&A, Contested Zones and Asteroid Zone. Contested Zones and Asteroid Bases. I let David do the typing on this week, so I didn't do it myself. I didn't know.
In other
If you've
words,
seen
you're
Star
not
Citizen
working
Live
today,
before,
Jared.
it's an absolute train wreck at the end of our week, where we take a handful of our developers. We ask them to stay late, especially if they're in Germany, and take a little bit of their time to answer questions from you, the Star Citizen player. As usual, we put up a thread up on Spectrum earlier in the week where we collected your questions. You got to vote on which ones you wanted to see answered most. And then our guests this week went through the questions, picked the ones that were appropriate for their areas of expertise and work, and we're here to talk about them now. Before we get to that, let's go ahead and introduce our esteemed group of Frankfurt level designs. Level designs? You're all level designers.
Okay.
Told you it was a train wreck. Let's start with Con. Hey, Con, tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
Hey guys, I'm Khan, lead level designer for Star Citizen.
And what does a lead level designer do?
A lead level designer manages a lead, not a lead, a team of level designers, and work through new initiatives like the contested zones and asteroid stations.
How often is there an annoying American in the office that just does the William Shatner bit with your name?
Quite often, but I think the last name is a bit more difficult.
Yeah, I've already used up my swear, so I'm not even going to take a try at the second name. John, tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
Hi, I'm John. I'm a level designer too, and I tend to do whatever Khan tells me because he's my boss.
What makes it a level designer 2?
I did a good enough job as level designer 1.
Is that quantifiable? Is that on paper somewhere?
I mean, obviously there are criteria for promotions, and yeah, I was level designer 1 for a couple of years and gained enough experience to earn that promotion. So I'm a level designer 2 now.
Okay. And last, Manuel, tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
Hey, I'm Manuel. I'm a senior level designer, and yeah, last I did the implementation for the personal hangars, for the player hangars, but you might also know me from Area 18, Prison, and some other things, and soon asteroid bases.
People might know you from Prison. Sounds like a story.
I mean, maybe you've seen me there.
Oh, you mean Kleischer?
Yes.
Oh. Senior level designer 2. Which one's where?
Yeah, I'm 2 steps below John.
Okay.
No.
The other way around.
I don't know. No, not that it matters. You guys are. I was in the Frankfurt office to film for this episode a few weeks ago, and you guys have a very collaborative and work environment here, where you were always over at one person's desk or another person's desk, helping each other out. Even during the interviews, some of you sat next to each other during the interviews and helped each other out with the answers and stuff. So, I make a joke about level and everything, but you guys are clearly a very tight-knit team. Plus, we did that neat ISC even earlier in the season where we got to meet the team here while you were visiting and talk more about your work and stuff. So just, you guys have shown, I think, that you guys are all pretty like this. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm imagining it.
And unlike John, I only do sometimes what Khan wants me to do.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of climbing those ranks. You can start to do your own thing.
Fair enough. All right, so
Exactly.
we've collected some questions from the backers. Let's go ahead and jump right in. These are in no particular orders. These are going to bounce our 2 main topics.
Hello,
for this
Luna
week's
Maria.
show
How are
the
you
new
this
asteroid
morning?
bases and the encounters
You
within that
just
are
arrived
scheduled for
early
the upcoming
today.
Alpha 4.0,
Yes.
and the new contested zones, which are the PvE kind of almost. We hesitate to use the word dungeon experience. It's the closest analogous term to other games, but it's not quite accurate for us, that are within the Pyro space stations. And then we'll jump into some generic level design stuff. First question off the bat says, What's the plan
Hi.
for all the new locations so that
How are
they do
you?
not end up being quote unquote boring bunkers with the same missions on a loop over and over and over again?
Who wants to do the honors?
I guess I do it, and starting with the asteroid base bit. I mean, asteroid bases are a bit like bunkers 2.0, more or less like a development. It's in the sense of it's a more condensed space, but we try to segment them a bit more, like in different categories in this regard. Like also encounter design, like encounter asteroid bases that we have or that we plan for. Covering more like sandbox mission-y designs. Then we want to have more explorative ones, and then also contested ones that tie more into the contested zone experience that Khan and John are working on. But yeah, we try to cover more different gameplay types, more different player interests or player interests in certain game mechanics or types. So yeah.
Can you give us an example of something? I don't want to go through every aspect of the experience. We just did an ISC on it, but can you give me an example of something that players will do in asteroid bases specifically?
I mean, if you go to one of the encounter asteroid bases, you can find bodies, you can kill X amount of guys. That's more like for the mission ones, but they will always be populated, so you don't need a mission to go there. You can just go there and check it out yourself. But these are more like the playground for missions. But you can also find other ones that are inhabited, and you can just explore and do puzzles in them. At least that's the plan going ahead.
And certain kinds of puzzles and treasures to be found.
Yes.
Okay. With contested zones, because these open areas, what's being done to avoid bottlenecks and other obvious camping spots that negatively impact the player experience?
I guess I should go for that one, John, right?
You
so
both can go.
Okay. We're looking for multiple entry points, like establishing multiple entry points that can come from the interior, but also from the exterior of the station, so that you just don't have one bottleneck. I mean, I guess you kind of spread the options out a bit. We can't fully eliminate the possibility of this, but at least giving players the option and giving them some sense of opportunities in and around the station to enter this contested zone will definitely help it out.
Yeah, exactly. I think whenever you have an entrance into a place like this where PvP is possible, it naturally creates a bottleneck. You have to be able to enter the space, and there could be people camping that space waiting for you to enter. So what we can do as designers is try and offer alternate paths.
You can at least try.
There are side elevators. There are ways in from the exterior of the station. So we're just trying to provide as many different opportunities to enter that space so that it's more difficult to use those bottlenecks if you are of a griefing mindset.
Yeah, what's also important is that there's like exfiltration points inside these contested zones. So if you hit a specific depth of the contested zone, you can get to a part that offers you a one-way exit that brings you to the social area, so back to practical safety.
Interesting. And you're talking about things that we can do to battle or defeat the bottlenecks and stuff, the camping and stuff like this. But some aspect of that is intentional. Some aspect of that is not a bug; it's a feature. These are still intended to be PvP zones. They are intended to still have a certain level of friction. The balance in all of this is in finding the right level of friction, not eliminating all the friction altogether.
Yeah, that's a tough part of designing a map like this. Definitely.
Yeah,
finding the right balance.
Yeah, ultimately it is a PvP space, and griefing, unfortunately, is something you try to design against. But this is a kind of a whole philosophical debate we could get into about griefing versus PvP. But griefing is just PvP ultimately. At the end of the day, there's technically nothing wrong with someone finding a defensible position and using that as an advantage over another player. and that aspect of being on the defensive in the PvP kind of equation is you dealing with those kind of bottlenecks and those camping positions. You know, which cover do you use? How do you approach a room? Do you breach the room? You know, do you use like grenades to flush out a room before you enter it? You know, scouting opportunities. And there are things we can do as designers to kind of aid that as well with like cover placement and you know, lighting and
I don't know
things like
about that, guys.
can
There's a big difference.
alleviate these issues, but ultimately you can't get rid of them, and you probably shouldn't, because ultimately this is Pyro and this is a PvP space as well as PvE.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
also
think,
part of opting in, right? It's just like
Yeah.
you want to do PvP, and then I mean that can also spark like new things. Imagine like back then in the days in WoW Classic, right, when Crossroads was raided, and then suddenly you try to ally with some friends or like people and just like try to push back on things. And I think that can be really interesting.
Yeah, we obviously do want to. This is not the place to
I'm
do a
offended.
giant griefing versus PvP discussion. We've actually done that on SCL a number of times. But ultimately, just because I can already see the chat now. Hi, Twitch chat, and I can already imagine the YouTube comments later. At the end of the day, I think a baseline here is that there has to be an alternative. There
Good
has to
morning,
be
Bears.
a
How's it going?
solution available to the player who's being attacked in order
It's a little
to
early
maintain.
for me.
When there's not
Unfortunately.
a solution, when there's not
How are you?
an option that's accessible to that player to continue to go on and have a good experience, to continue to do the things that they want to do, that's when PvP turns to griefing. When you take away the gameplay experience, not just make it difficult. That's PvP. But it's a fine line, and I think you sit here. We could march a parade of 500 developers in front of this camera, and you'd probably hear a solid 400 different answers about what that is. So for those of you who are already working up your YouTube videos and stuff, saying CIG says this or CIG says that, that's not what's happened now. We're hearing a couple people express some individual opinions on what the difference is, and again, I promise if you brought 400 people in
For
here,
your
you'd get 300
wonderful
people.
commentary,
So
Luna.
at the end of the day, it's about our job here in this situation. This is me where I'll put on the CIG hat and speak on behalf of CIG here. Our job in those situations is to find
I'm sorry, I'm
alternatives
having
for the players who are suffering at the hands of PvP. Find ways that they can counter it, provide ways that they can counter
Doing
it, provide
okay.
alternatives that still provide the same
Still pretty
experience.
beat
Other
over
places where
last
they can
night.
go,
I had some
other things like turrets,
issues
and things
happen.
like factions.
Rather
that
than not
NPC
talk
factions
about-
that can come in and help defend. To
Kind of
find
made
the
me a
things
little
that can help.
angry last night.
When a player runs out of options and the only thing they can do is be killed over and over and over again, that's where there's a problem. So I said some friction is intended, but it's all about finding that point. We're talking about contested zones and asteroid bases. How widely spread are these contested zones and asteroid bases around the Pyro system? The Pyro system is pretty darn big. So what are we talking about as far as how far these are spread?
So currently we are planning for about 5 contested zones, and these are in a few stations, all pretty evenly spread along the Pyro system. But some of them being in very specific places that are only be able to be accessed once you progress to a specific stage, or once you have actually gained
Really,
items, you can
really, Luna? Come
get
on.
to that location and unlock the interior, basically. So contested
Be
zones
nice.
might not be immediately accessible to the player. There's some that will require you to complete others to then find the keys to others, basically, or to specific.
Let's just say I had a disagreement with leadership
Is there any sort of
somewhere,
is there
and
anything intended or planned that would
it's not the
start doing
feeling's
one
not
contested
mutual with
zone and
what
make
we
you go to
agreed.
another contested zone to finish or complete? Or
Yeah,
they,
that's.
But
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I said, or they
that's
just contained experiences within each.
kind of
So John can explain this a bit better after.
That's all
me,
I'm
but
gonna
the
say
intention
about
is that we have contested zones, or we give certain categorization to certain branches or sections of a contested zone. So we have a short-term kind of branch, for example. We have a mid-term and a long-term one. And in the long term, it is a requirement to find specific ingredients in other places to be able to access that long-term branch, right? And whilst short-term or mid-term ones are there to complete the dungeon itself, or basically go in there and do some farm runs or loot runs. Yeah.
Gotcha. So there's not going to be too much advantage at just holding up in one. You're not going to be able to complete the ultimate objectives of these contested zones by just staying put in one place and holding it forever. Okay.
You will have to go to multiple of them and progress.
Yeah, you might do it to take away somebody else's enjoyment, but you won't gain anything as far as the progression for your character and stuff by doing so.
Yeah.
Okay. With asteroid bases, will there be asteroid bases without enemy NPCs or non-violent gameplay as well?
Which
For
helmets?
example,
The ones in the
scavenging, environmental
background?
puzzles, rescue missions.
Yeah,
fighting
you can
innocent
find
people.
them in
Is there
game.
something to do in asteroid bases?
Oh, you
for
mean
players who
IRL?
just want to bring peace to the galaxy.
I'm not sure about peace, but but yes, certainly. The current intention and goal we have in developing these is, like, as previously touched on a bit before, is, the encounter ones are solely the sandbox environment for the whole mission stuff. So people
You're
who
all
want to
right,
engage in
Luna.
missions
It's
and want to
fine.
engage in combat and do these things. But I also want to have this, like, more safer spaces. I mean,
Just
you
irritated.
can't,
Last night was
preempt
kind of
anything from
a
happening, obviously, but
but
the exploration ones are more dedicated
situation.
to solving
I'll put it
puzzles, by
that way.
finding,
It was
like,
not a
rewards by entering
great
rooms that are not so
situation for
obviously,
me.
like, enterable, right? Like, you have to do some things, hack it, like, not hack a door, but find means around the space and then get more, like, higher rewards in there.
Gotcha.
So yes, that's, like, no NPCs and anything is planned in there.
Manuel, can you give me a big, like, heroic pose, something like this, real quick? There you go. Everybody, screenshot that and with the words "I don't know about peace" underneath that. I'd like to see that on Reddit before the end of the show, please. Are there plans, or does the tool set allow for the creation of non-derelict asteroid bases, whether functional or productive? Like, could they be seen in a system like Stanton, but is abandoned, or inhabited the mooring? Oh, gee, they're going way into the lore there. The mooring, like Nyx. So basically, can we make asteroid bases that aren't just run down, beat up, abandoned places? Is what they're asking.
I mean, yes, the whole concept of asteroid bases is quite expandable and it has lots of potential because it's a very small scale and doesn't need that much development time like a big flagship location. It's not for the initial release right now, so we are focusing more on the
penguin
three
plushies,
archetypes,
I think,
that
are
we are
pretty
currently looking
rare.
into. But there's certainly a lot of potential and stuff we would like to do going forward in the future and expanding on social spaces as well.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing when we prototyped these, one aspect that we envisioned was for refueling. Like, instead of needing a large station,
Maybe
you could have these asteroid bases like strategically placed around where you could, for example, refuel, rearm. So we definitely envision this as an expandable feature. But
yeah,
it's something we want to do.
In ISC just yesterday, which was about the more social aspects, not the combat stuff. But we mentioned that, the Pyro system is so much bigger than Stanton. That the distances between planets are such that having to strategically figure out where you can stop and refuel along the way just to get to the outer ends of the solar system is a important part. And that's what you just mentioned is a great kind of follow-up thing. I mean, obviously we've been adding to the Stanton system for years and years and years. We'll continue to add to the Pyro system after the release of 4.0, and that's an easy consideration. Well, maybe there's an asteroid base gas station there, and that'll help deal with a stress point along that travel route and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's more interesting as well because we have these gigantic stations. but when you travel down the motorway in the middle of nowhere, you hit a little gas station, and I think there's some fun there. There's some different kind of style and aesthetic we could use, a different experience than having to go into a station and everything that comes with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the feeling.
What else we got? Let's go back to contested zones for a little bit. We talked a little bit about this with sometimes you have the direct route out, but I'm willing to bet there's more here. How will we be able to extract something from the contested zones if people spawn right next to it and are back in 1 to 2 minutes after we kill them? It sounds super annoying to deal with.
So we obviously have considered that, and
Have you?
I'd like to hope so. So the way that the contested zones is, by design, the deeper you go, the better rewards there are to find. And if, for example, you encountered a PvP situation, or you yourself were killed by a PvE encounter, getting back to where you were is not so straightforward. It's not just a case of a 1-2 minute run in. If you were, deep within the contested zone, not to mention that, you'd have to rearm yourself. I mean, you could run in with your suit and a pistol, but will you be able to successfully get back to your body if you don't equip yourself well? And similarly, if in a PvP situation, if you kill someone, you succeed in PvP, you take their stuff, are they going to pop up a minute later? I doubt it. Within the contested zone, not only are there traps, hazards, lots of PvE enemies that will be respawning. So even if you cleared out and your path behind you, they're going to be respawning in like you would see in a typical dungeon. You also have exfiltration routes available to you, as Khan said earlier. So you could decide that person might be coming back for you again. They might turn up in 5 minutes and 10 minutes. They might bring friends. Now's my time to get out. I'm going to head for that exfiltration route, leave, get back to the social space, and take my loot home. So this is something that we obviously want to see play out. We want to see how players in testing, and if any changes are required, we'll look to do that. But I think the design currently will hopefully avoid that.
Someone in the chat asked if there was a Lightsmith asked, will there be multiple ways in and out? Yes, we mentioned that earlier in the show, Lightsmith. You can watch the replay up on YouTube if you missed that earlier information. You keep mentioning traps, and this was even during the the filming for the last ISC. Every time you say traps, I keep imagining like a classic Dungeons and Dragons mimic, like a thing that looks like a treasure chest, looks like an item box, and then it explodes and sprays gas at you and kills you. I don't know if we've got time to squeeze it in, but would you guys, for me, consider some explosive item boxes that look like, oh look, there's
those would be cool mimics.
I think I can speak for everyone when I say that we would love to develop a whole range of traps and hazards. We are implementing ones that we have currently, like trip mines, explosive canisters, hazard zones, radiation, fire. But a mimic chest would be amazing.
Yeah, it can't just be. There's nothing you can do about it. Like we got to be able to scan it. There's got to be a way to detect it and stuff and avoid it. You can't just be random. Oh well, I did nothing and blew myself up. But for the people who are in too big a hurry and don't do the due diligence, those people deserve to have a box blow up in their face. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, hey, maybe it's like a weird alien creature, right? And it's taking on the form of a chest.
I was about to say, like, yes, have a face hugger, right?
Yep.
Implement something new, and then you die in the next one trying to loot your body. Suddenly it bursts open.
Dave, what do you think the over under are that I can convince Damien DeVoe to create a mimic, like an actual creature? Maybe, okay. All right. I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen, but it's now my new mission in life, and I don't care about the show, so I'm just gonna go do that. Bye.
Thank you.
What group sizes are contested zones designed around?
Yeah. We definitely, you can do it solo, but we wouldn't recommend that. Like John just said earlier, these are really PvP, PvE centric spaces. Even if there were no players in your vicinity, you'll still face quite the challenge. So our recommendation is to at least go with one friend. We are currently envisioning like or in our test at least, we are going in by 5-player groups with the recent test also involving another group. So, but yeah, we're seeing it to be able to scale up to 40 players per dungeon.
Now, you said this isn't the first time you said they can be soloed. Has anybody ever actually? Are you talking about like technically, like the way that the inside of a ship can technically catch fire if the temperature outside is hot enough? You're saying it can technically be done, or has there actually been somebody through testing that has managed to just run through the whole thing by themselves?
Did anyone? I don't think I did. Did you, John?
It's difficult. I mean, initially, in the earlier sections, I think it's doable. It's if you're good enough, it's manageable. But we do scale up like the enemies, the deeper you get, and the intention is that you might need to bring some help.
Sometimes if the AI is broken, you can do it.
Yeah, bad server maybe. Yeah.
A combination of letters and numbers followed by Ages Inquisitor in the chat says, "This cannot be live. It's way too professional." What effing show are you watching?
I appreciate the compliment.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like I'm a nervous mess right now. But okay.
Obviously, we knew that message was going to be sent, and we responded because this is recorded.
John, is that John? John, is that your mom? Is Aegis Inquisitor your mom? Will asteroid bases appear as quantum markers always, or as exploration missions, or as exploration
good
stuff necessary
question.
to travel to them?
Very good question.
No, it's they will be always there, always present for you. As said, you can also go to them if there's no mission running, even the mission sandboxy ones, the encounter asteroid bases. You can travel there without requiring a mission. There will be AI population regardless. It's the mission stuff will add on top of that. But all of them you can see from the get-go. There might be plans for the future.
That's what I wanted to get at. That's certain. You're speaking about how it is in 4.0 in our initial release. Anybody that can remember the initial release of the PU, the stand system, back in late November, early December 2015, and you look at that version of the stand system versus the version of the stand system you have now, obviously these things change, these things grow over time. Pyro will be no different. Even as we continue to add star system after star system after star system after that, our intention is never to abandon the previous ones. There are new stuff coming to Stanton in 4.0. We haven't gotten to talking about that yet, but it'll be on ISC in a couple weeks. But 4.0 isn't just all Pyro and we forget Stanton. So we're talking about Pyro as it is in 4.0, but
further refinement of
obviously as
Stanton.
we continue to introduce more exploration-based ships. Everybody knows the Zeus is on the public roadmap coming up here in a future release. One of the variants for that is an exploration-based stuff. People here are very keen to start developing exploration-based stuff, like discovering transient jump points, finding an asteroid base, or maybe even a derelict space station that nobody's found before and stuff like this. Those stuff will become more prevalent as the footprint gets larger. As the footprint of the game gets larger and larger, and we're all very excited to do that. So not in 4.0.
No, not yet. But we have lots of ideas internally, and we really would love to expand and iterate on it and more things.
Right. Another asteroid base question. So we mentioned that some of the asteroid bases had copians inside. Are these placeholders later to be replaced by more fitting creatures? Oh, this person's calling you out.
Oh,
apparently
actually,
they don't agree copians should be in asteroid bases. Thoughts?
I think they can make narrative sense in there, right? You can have domesticized copians, right? They bring with them. As far as I know, right? We have like variants.
Yeah, we actually have a domesticated variant. Yeah, pet copian basically.
They just look feral right now, so that will be like more fitting looking. But I don't think it's a far stretch that they can like, narratively be around there. But yeah, I mean, if we have like more fitting creatures as well in the future, that's it. But for now, it's like what we have, what we are working with, right? Is human NPCs and then the Copians. So we try to utilize what we have to create more variety and like more interesting combat with the ingredients that we have.
Yeah.
Manuel voiced interest to have a space cow in an asteroid base.
Oh yes.
A space cow in an
we
asteroid
don't
bed.
we don't really talk about it
Yeah.
for the rest of the season, but the domesticated Copians are one of the new aspects that are coming online with 4.0. These are domesticated for NPCs and stuff. We're not stealthily adding pet gameplay to players just yet.
Just
Yeah,
yet.
they're attack dogs essentially.
Just
We
yet,
have them in
he said.
contested zones, and the narrative idea is that they have been breeding them and training them, and they will attack you. So as you engage a group of outlaws, there could be a couple of attack Copians that they have that are charging at you, which I think provides a really interesting kind of gameplay dynamic. You're not just dealing with human menus now; you also have these fast-moving, low creatures that are attacking your ankles, and it adds a whole new aspect to combat.
And the process of developing Copians that react to NPCs. There are entities that they don't attack that are friendly to them, that can issue commands and stuff. This is all a step closer to what I could already see some of you are already thinking, pet and player ownership of stuff. That's not to say that you'll be able to own a Copian specifically. It's not to say that you don't. It's to say I don't know the answer, but I know that there has not been a week in the last 3 months where I haven't heard either CR or Rich mention something about we got to get pets in there and stuff. So this is the next step towards that.
But yeah, I mean, to go back to what Manuel said, I think as he said, I think we can narratively explain why there are Copians on the abandoned asteroid bases. I think it would be a shame to remove them just to lessen the encounter variety. And I definitely agree that it would be cool to get those creatures like the mimic face hugger chest we talked about. These kind of alien creatures that you would expect to see on asteroid bases in the future would be amazing. But for now, I think they do offer something useful.
I said nothing about facehugger. That was all you.
Nope, that's you.
I just wanted a little chest that killed people. I didn't say anything about it.
It has to hug your face.
That was you.
That's what they do, right?
The views and opinions of Joe do not represent those. All right, next question. Will some contested zones vary in terms of difficulty and overall loot? For instance, one station having relatively fewer enemies and loot compared to another with an abundance of heavily armored enemies and very valuable loot.
Yes, we are alternating some of this based on the contested zone you're in. We also have a very specific one, which we call the Ghost Arena, but don't really want to spoil that yet. But at the same time, so for us, what is really important when it comes to the reward stuff is that things are actually substantial and unique. What we put in there has to not be widely available, right? So, and that's the thing that we want to really balance out with the rest of the universe to make it worthwhile and to balance it also out between the contested zones themselves.
Yeah, I think anybody who's played Star Citizen for a while knows that one of the I'm just going to call it weird. It was one of the weird limitations of the mission system and the game itself was the inability to distribute rewards, in-game rewards to players. It's one of those things that somehow with the development of everything else and whatnot, it was just always a we'll get to it, and we just never seem to get to it. In 4.0 and beyond, a big chunk of the mission feature team, stuff like this, has now been going to adding that functionality in there, so that now you saw it with the with the Operation Overdrive and stuff. You now there are things you can do in game and now get rewarded for an item in game. So that kind of technology expands and continues into asteroid bases, into contested zones, and into things like Ghost Arena that we're not going to talk about, stuff like that. So
where did everybody
you're
go?
See more and more unique things that are rewarded to you through playing the game as development continues to 4.0 and beyond and stuff like that.
Everyone like
really
Ninja
exciting
Vanish on me or
think
something?
if I can speak, I'm speaking for the devs, but if I can speak for the fans for a while, I think the sense of progression the sense of I'm doing things and I'm earning things that I can't get anywhere else. It's like this has been missing from the game for a little while. So it's
Feels
one of the
sick.
more
What is-
exciting aspects to me of 4.0 is this work that we're talking about today, the contested zones and the asteroid bases, because to me, this seems like the birth of the very beginnings, the birth of actual player progression to something greater. And I'm really excited about that. So I hope that's coming across in the ISC in this. And if it's not, I'm sorry, I tried. Next question. What's the ghost thing? Stop being a weenie. Just tell us.
The ghost thing?
The ghost.
The supernatural elements.
What's it called?
Ghost Arena.
Ghost Arena.
Oh, that one. I guess. How should I describe it? Do you know Running Man? I guess you do,
Okay,
right?
that's all we'll say. That's enough.
Okay.
That's enough. Cool. I love Running Man. Do contested zones have one main objective, or are there different areas with things to gain from each of them?
Yes. So this ties into what Khan was just saying in terms of progression and rewards. On the kind of smaller scale of a singular contested zone, we do also have a bit of variety in what you can do and your goals. We kind of have broken it into 3 areas. So you have like a short-term goal where you just want to go into a contested zone. You just want to get some loot, kill some enemies, and get out. And that's kind of one quick play style we're looking at. A second one is that maybe you want to complete the entire contested zone, so get to the final reward room.
Wow, where did
complete the
everybody
entire
go?
thing. And that takes a little bit more effort and maybe coordination and maybe some help. For example, like we have these security doors that require keys, specific keys. That
Lina
you have to
Maria
find
jumped
from within
over
the dungeon,
to it.
to be able to
Oops.
progress into the deeper parts. So that's kind of a second playstyle that we're envisioning. And the third one is, as Khan said, this overall progression where you now have to engage with multiple contested zones, with asteroid bases, and kind of go along this whole flow. And all the rewards are scaled to kind of the effort involved in each of those.
Mopspear in the chat says, I want to know because I want to marry that sandworm. You know, Mopspear, if you believe in yourself and you work hard, all things are possible.
Some things are funny.
Except that. Will asteroid bases have any enclosed docks that would handle a capital class ship? For example, a capital class hangar with atmosphere, but with an enclosed zero gravity space. This is
Good
a really
question.
specific question. Will you make this very specific thing for this very specific person?
So I probably have to disappoint you in this regard. So the initial set of asteroid bases we are putting out, right? We don't do social spaces, so there's no official landing, so no hangars or landing pads services whatsoever, right? So that will come down later down the line. And even then, if we add the more smaller social spaces like gas stations and so on, it's probably more to serve smaller, medium-sized ships, probably not the big capital-sized ships. We might have docking tubes at some of them later on, so that could be
Docking
on the access point if that's supported for your ship, but probably out. I mean, if you buy in the ship, right, it's like then you have certain stations available to you. That's
So kind of like at the
right?
current Tressler and all the other
Yeah, yeah.
stations.
During the ISC, let's back up. Over the course of the development of this game, we've seen a lot of procedural tools done. The Rastar and stuff that can generate certain layouts for different space stations and everything. In the ISC, we specifically mentioned that the asteroid bases were not procedural. Can you talk to us about why that change was made? Why are the asteroid bases created bespoke? You know, there's that word. There's actually an appropriate reason to use that word there, people. So, you know, you can drink if you want to, but why did we do these by hand instead of using the procedural tools?
I think there's always a balance to be had with how much you do stuff procedural versus how much you want to control the general flow of things. So we're talking like procedural, like in our terms, is used to be a lot like you stitch a room one by one together based on kind of some parameters in logic. But that kind of eliminates our ability to handcraft an experience that flows throughout a multi-room setup, right? So what we're looking at right now instead is hand stitching certain sections together that can combine into kind of like a gameplay bubble, and then utilizing multiple gameplay bubbles that we can then stitch together with this procedural tool, right? So we have a bit more control on the scale of things that is a bit larger than just a room, but accommodates for multiple rooms basically.
And that's in line with with things we've said before. I mean, there are other games out there who very famously everything is procedural, and some of the struggle of that is that nothing is really unique because of that. And no, I'm not talking about the one you're obviously thinking. I'm talking about another one that's older, back from like 2017, 2018. We've always said that we use procedural generation as a tool, not an ends. We use it to help us move forward. We use it to help us flesh out, but as not just the sole creation of a thing. Because we have, and I think if we've demonstrated anything in the 11 years that ISC, ATV, and everything's been around and stuff like this, is that we have an incredible team of artists. Not just the 3D artists, the 2D artists, the tech artists, the animators. There's all kinds of stuff that gets us the look and feel that we have, and we're never going to. I can't see us ever just fully handing that over to
machines,
procedural generation, generative AI, anything else. We might use these things as tools, again, to help flesh out the other areas once we've designed the critical path.
I mean, they might assist them, but they won't
to flesh out some stuff, as you
fully take over.
That's been a hallmark. That's been what we've been saying about procedural tools from the very beginning. So it's nice to see that or here anyway, that it's still the case. Will we be able to manipulate the environment of contested zones, like turn on and off gravity, life support, turrets, doors, stuff like that?
Not right now from the get-go, right? It's something that can become more interesting once resource network hits. So yeah, not initially. Though that said, we have doors with keycards. So there's
fuses.
And fuses. So there's some elements where you can already manipulate, but I guess what players might have more in mind with these systems that you can manipulate, like power resources and all these things, we'd really love to implement them once we have the systems available to us.
Now, you said something there, and I want to make sure that we get some clarity on that. At this moment, the moment that we're recording, what day is this? Friday. What's the date? As of Friday, August 16th, Resource Network is scheduled for release in 4.0. These things are scheduled for release in 4.0. When Manuel says when that stuff is in, when that stuff's ready, he means when it's up and running and functional for him to utilize it in the design of this experience. Because these experiences are being developed concurrently, and so like this, we can't have them sitting around waiting. You can't have asteroid bases sitting around waiting for work on Resource Network to come along. So the first version will use little pieces of it, like you said, the key cards and the fuses and stuff like that. But as
key cards are going to be a change, right, Luna? If you're still there,
then as a feature hard,
key cards are going to be very
able to utilize more aspects of that. You've already seen. If you watched ISC yesterday, some of the locations teams are already using aspects of the resource.
That's something we don't even have in game
for their charge and drain stuff, and for.
So I'm welcoming that.
Homesteads and habitats and stuff like that. So it's just a
That's
question.
Almost very Gundam-esque.
Do we want to wait?
There are doors like that in Gundam.
That can do all of these other.
Where you have to have key cards.
Add that later, and that's what he's talking about.
Or Metal Gear Solid.
Exactly. I think it would be, or like we all think it would be a shame holding on with the asteroid bases and contested zones. Is already a playable content that works without the resource network already, right? So it's like, why wait? Get it out in the hands of players, have them play also getting feedback right and see like how players engage with the environment and how we can improve upon that. And then we already have also ideas like how we can implement or like add in the future once the systems are more refined.
Eagle
think
6. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add on a little bit as well. I think it's worth adding that we have definitely viewed the contested zone astrobases a little differently to past things we've put out. We want these locations to kind of stand alone, like as themselves. You know, be a bit more sandboxy and have more interactable elements in them. And the resource network that will eventually come is a part of that. But things like the key cards and the security doors and traps and things, we're trying to push more of that into the environment to make them kind of be more standalone and exist as a space that you can interact with and have gameplay in.
I was going to say, Eagle 6 Airsoft says it's not ISC live without 20 disclaimers. Well, it's not ISC live at all. But yeah, no, there's lots of disclaimers because I've been doing this for 10 years and there's nothing, they're honest to God, the absolute worst thing in my entire life. Yeah, I'm not going to qualify that. It is the worst thing in my life, is watching somebody take something from one of my programs and misunderstand it. Not maliciously, not the people who twist things because they're looking for clicks or whatever. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the good people who simply heard something and took it a certain way, and that's not the way it's going to be. And then I watch that person get excited. I watch that person get excited, and I watch that person get hyped. I watch that person get so hopeful for a thing that's not actually going to happen the way that they think we said it, because we didn't take 10, 15, 20 seconds to clarify it, to disclaimer it. So yeah, there are about 20 or so disclaimers and clarifications on SCL every week. And that's part of my responsibility, not just to you, but to the developers, to make sure that
which is fair, Jared, which is fair,
in the proper context.
I understand.
And if I didn't, there'd probably be 3 more people in the chat jumping on me for not clarifying. So I'll take the hit. I'll take the little hit for, oh, there's too many disclaimers and whatnot, because ultimately the alternative's far worse. All right. We've been sort of dancing around this, and I don't know how much you're going to be able to get into it, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you. What kind of rewards are there from the contested zones? Is there a shared PvP mission item to recover, or are there loot small enough to carry in a backpack, example? Obviously, we don't want to spoil everything. We still want some level of discovery, but as much as you can share, what are people working towards in a contested zone?
I guess I can give some examples. So for the first part, what kind of rewards you're gonna get is, first, our first step is to make things unavailable, like widely unavailable, something that you just can't not get from the shops in Stanton or in Pyro. It has to be something that is only be retrievable right here. And what we're looking at right now, after talking with system design about it and other people, is that ship components are one of the big steps like that. Like military, stealth class, or even competition class ship components will be made exclusive in some capacity, certain parts of it, and only be widely available, or
certain variants of
available.
them.
Yeah, exclusively available in reward rooms or in the final. Let's call it the grand prize.
Yeah. I'm going to stop you there. That's plenty. Okay. We don't want to share everything, but yes, I'm taking next week off, and then I'm in Germany the following week to film with Torsten and the gang there about resource networking. And one of the neat talking points, and I think I feel like I actually said this last week, but I'll say it this week too. You might remember an old series of articles that John Crew and I wrote back when I was a community manager, 2016, 2017. I've been a community manager in 5 or 6 years. But back then we wrote a series of articles for the website called The Shipyard, where we broke down basically the overall plan for how ships are supposed to work. And one of the things we talked about there was the classifications of materials, not just in quality, but in type. Military, competition, luxury, stuff like that. So this, along with resource network, and I'm not going to go into it too much here because we've got the episode coming, is the beginning of that realization of multiple ship components that are actually tuned to different abilities and tuned to different performance thresholds and stuff. So after 4.0 is where the world of, okay, my M50 behaves like this, but I'm going to rip this out and I'm going to rip this out and I'm going to go do a contested zone. I'm going to get this. I'm going to pop that in. I'm going to go to an asteroid base and get this. I'm going to pop that in. And now my M50 behaves differently than the stock thing that comes off the market. 4.0 is where the start of that begins to happen. And I'm, like I said, as the co-author of the Shipyard articles with John Cruise so many years ago, it's one of those things that I've been waiting, which is why you brought it up, so I'm gonna be excited about it. All right.
I hope I didn't spoil too much.
Nope, that was just enough. That was just enough. You did good, Con. Tell us everything else. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but yeah, to the second part of the question about how we extracted freight elevators. It's not just going to be backpacks or something that you can carry, right? There's going to be freight elevators inside this zone that are positioned in a way where you can extract certain things in a more efficient manner.
Corn 44's TV says, say it again, I wasn't listening.
Sorry?
Nothing, I'm just...
Oh, okay.
Sometimes I appreciate a solid low-level troll. Are asteroid bases, as gameplay locations, a precursor in test for player-owned asteroid bases, or are there no connections to be drawn? Careful.
Not yet, at least.
Careful. I love that.
Not yet, at least at the moment. So they're currently
Nothing to say at the moment.
Focused for gameplay and content, first and foremost.
Yes, that is all they're intended for at this time. Watch Citizen Con. That's actually not about asteroid bases, but I just meant I shouldn't have even tied those two together. That's not fair to tie those two together, but you should watch Citizen Con. How do you envision contested zones evolving over time to prevent them from becoming static content?
But yeah, totally. I mean, this is a live game, so we will continuously update these places with any new items that might be popping up, any new systems. I mean, we have to maintain, we are constantly, as level designers, going back to old locations and giving them an upgrade when some change to a system comes up, right? So the same would apply here for the contested zones as well.
Right. As something like pet copions does become available to players and stuff like that, they'll have to revisit the balance of that as the light amplification scopes that are scheduled to arrive in 4.0 and stuff. I'm sure that had to change a couple things with, we thought that was a dark corner. Not anymore. Stuff like that. So yeah, so it's you make a really great point, Con. I'm grateful that you brought it up. It's every time a new gameplay system comes online and stuff like that, there's always something that has to get revisited and has to be
it usually does
in order to incorporate that stuff in, and these will be no different.
Yeah.
Will contested zones have any time pressures that player must manage, or can players just take their time?
There's going to be time pressures. Specific locations even have timed gates. So during these timers, we attract players to be there. Other times, certain things will be locked, so there's no point in going there. So yeah, there's going to be timed gates. The other added pressure is just the population that exists there, right? Like, you won't be able to fully eliminate the static AI population or the traps that just exist in this space. So there's a physical pressure, and then there's also the other side with timed gates.
Yeah, that kind of ties back to early discussions about PvP and camping as well. That
Yeah.
we want the PvE environment to be constantly pushing against the players as well. So yes, you could find a loot box, loot it, and then try and stay there to see if you can loot it again later. But we would then want the environment to be pushing back on you for respawning enemies, patrolling enemies, to really not allow that.
I was looking at this. Yeah, you said timed, and I just had terrible flashbacks. I was at Blizzard when we did the Gates of Encourage, and this time, the first timed event, and told everybody in Azeroth to go to one place at the exact same time, and what that did to performance and stuff like this. This isn't going to be the same thing, right? A timed event, and suddenly we're going to make everybody go to one of 5 places, or
It will be a bit more loose than that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I still have trauma. It's 20 years ago. Oh my gosh, it's 20 years ago. Well, it's 19 since Encourage. But Tech Zulu says, Jared's in a studio and the others are on webcams. I'm not in a studio. I'm in outer space. See? I'm in outer space.
Okay.
The other guys are in
want
Germany. And it's not very cost effective to fly 3 people over here just to do an hour-long show. We do try not to spend money where we don't have to.
I want that too. Why don't we have cool props?
I could tell you, but the answer would not make you happy.
I can tell you the answer would not make you happy. That response.
I'm not sure if
I
that counts
love
as
it.
this one.
Oh my God. That response. Beautiful. Beautiful chat.
For both asteroid bases and
I
contested
could,
zones, we're almost out of time. How varied will they be from base to base?
I could tell you, but you won't like the response. Oh my God,
I said,
Jared.
for asteroid bases and contested zones, how varied are they? We know there's about 5 of this and whatever this. Are they substantially different? Are they variations on a theme? What are we talking about as far as variation?
For asteroid bases, we're talking right now, we're working on 3 variants. So, like Manon mentioned earlier, we got an encounter variant, we got a more explorative variant, which has a lot more like of an abandoned theme to it. And then we got kind of the contested zone. It's not specifically contested zone, but it is the location that ties to the overall progression that we are planning for.
Okay. And last question. We mentioned this is okay, lots of MMOs going back to the end of the beginning of time here, and make no mistake, Star Citizen is an MMO. You know, our single player experience is Squadron 42, or the persistent universe is our multiplayer experience. That's not to say that there isn't a way to make your living as a solo player, but I mean, the overwhelming majority of the game is designed for a multiplayer experience. That's why we have a single player and a multiplayer. Where was I going with this? Oh, for a lot of MMOs, dungeons are normal.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place.
Everything has some area that counts as their dungeon. Some they go in here. There's an entrance. There's a progression through. There's mobs to fight. There's an occasional boss. We talked a little bit about your desire for boss fights, John, when we filmed ISC. This last question says, what lessons, if any, from other games have informed your approach to creating what is our first version of that kind of experience with asteroid bases and contested zones? What have you learned from other games?
So when we first started looking into this and we were in kind of pre-production, we obviously looked at all current MMO, dungeons. I think between the level designers, we've kind of played a lot of them. So, WoW, Final Fantasy 14, all the obvious ones. And we obviously looked into the dungeons and how we could apply what they have to what we tried. And we did originally kind of internally call them open dungeons. And the idea was to have a kind of traditional experience of, there's a start and an end. It gets harder the deeper you get. There are packs of enemies. But because we are Star Citizen and we are a unique MMO in that, you know, these are open. We kind of looked more to the old school MMOs for a bit more of where to pull from. You know, like
Skyrim would
EverQuest
be a good
which had
option
those
because there
open
are
space
multiple
dungeons where lots of
enemy
players could go in.
types and
So we kind of pulled on
multiple
that thread a little bit. And then we also
classes, I
looked at, in
guess,
terms of like map layout
and think of
designs,
others too.
we were pulling from like Guild Wars 2 and things where we looked at how they laid out their dungeons, you know, the branches and the way to move players around the space. So we did pull from, you know, existing and old MMOs,
Lessons.
but at the same time,
You're not talking about floor plans. You're talking lessons.
no, sorry, yeah, I should clarify. Lessons, yes.
You're gonna get a
certainly
lawyer
lessons.
busting through my door here in 5 minutes.
No, we certainly have our unique layouts. Yes, the lessons we pulled from these and our experiences playing them as to what we could apply to what we were doing. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that said, if you want to build Karazhan in Star Citizen, I'm all for it. Let's fight Little Red Riding Hood. Let's do it.
I mean, we already have Ghosts, so yeah, why not have Karazhan as well?
All right. Anybody else want to add to that? Con, Manuel?
I mean, pretty much what John said, right? It's like we need to. We are building something that we think is fun in the first iteration, and like also like as we are like being vivid MMO players as well, and we build something that we think fits the game a lot. But obviously, we need to find out like. We want to know about the player experience and see their reactions and what they like and what they don't like about it, so we can refine the existing ones, and we can make the new ones we're working on like even better and so on. It's like I think with all the great games, right? It's like they're building something and then see what the players like in particular for like their game bubble, and then trying to make that better.
That's a great point. We're in a position that other games don't get. We don't have to, and this will upset certain people and a certain.
Oh, it always does, Jared. Relax, just do it. Just say it.
We don't have to figure every single thing out ahead of time. Because we run a live environment in the middle of our development, we can afford to test. We can afford to put a thing out there and try it, and instead of assuming that people will react this and assuming people will react like that and assuming people will like this and assuming people will hate that, instead of assuming, we can actually put these things out there and test them and get actual feedback and go, okay, so that wasn't as bad as we thought it was, so there's something there. This didn't work the way that we thought it was, so we can move away from that. And that's been a hallmark of Star Citizen's development since the PU began in 2015. So we have this double-edged sword that definitely cuts both ways, where we can use the virtue of our live environment in the middle of our development to test certain things that other games might not even ever attempt. But at the same time, it means that there are a lot of decisions that sometimes come out, and there are plenty of players who are scratching their heads and they're like, that was never gonna work and whatnot. It's like, and that's certainly an opinion, and it might even have been the right one, but we don't have to guess. We can afford to test and try out, and that's a benefit, ultimately a benefit to our project. And I really liked your answer there, Manuel. So that was just me saying I really like your answer. Folks, that's it. Thanks for watching another episode of Star Citizen Live. What's it called? Contested Zones and Asteroid Bases. I remembered it. If you haven't already, check out yesterday's Inside Star Citizen about the pyro system and non-combat shooty gameplay stuff. Everybody's got this idea that pyro is just carnage and chaos, but it's not just. There's more stuff too. So check out ISC for yesterday. Next week, SCL will be off. I'm gone for the entire week because it's my birthday. I'm old. ISC is we're going to be airing. I'll just be honest with you. We're going to be airing a segment that we shot more than a year and a half ago. We shot it for a last Ship Showdown and didn't use it. So we're using it this week while I'm gone. It's a retrospective look back at the amazing contributions of superstar concept artist Gavin Rothery. If you've never seen him or heard of him or whatever, we think you're going to
Really?
love him. He's one
An
of my favorite people
unused
that work on the
ISC
project,
episode.
responsible for more spacecraft and vehicles than any single human being in Star Citizen. So he's got quite a legacy there. So you can check that out if you want. And then we're back in 2 weeks, our ISC. We're going back to Pyro. We're going back to all the combat and carnage and chaos with a few new elements that you may not be suspecting. So check that out. We're going to check out Xenothreat's home turf, and that's pretty cool.
I'm not a
Just
fan
so
of them. I'm not a fan of them, Luna,
which will be a
either.
surprise to no one.
But
So for Star
unfortunately,
Citizen Live,
it
I'm
is
Jared.
what it
That
is.
was Tom,
Sorry.
That was Manuel. That was John. That's David and Pete on the
An
buttons
affiliate,
over there. Thanks for
as an
watching.
affiliate,
Take care.
unfortunately, I
Keep an
have
eye out on
Twitch
PT
ads,
for
which sucks.
Updates on 324. Voting for Ship Showdown should be underway. Be sure you vote on which ship gets whatever the prizes and stuff are this year. I should have looked it up before the show. Remember that guy earlier in the show that said this can't be live? It was too professional. Wow. Not my show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Try not to burn everything down while I'm gone for a week. Bye.
Yeah. I hate them too, Luna, as it affects how interact with my community. ISC, it's sounding like these asteroid contested zones, they're going to be a lot more, there's going to be a lot more to it than we thought. So we'll just have to wait and see how they develop. What I'm hoping we get is small landing zones at some of them, down the road. I know, Luna, it sucks. It really does. You must watch all ads. It really does bug me. It bugs me too. Because, I'm a growing channel and every little bit of foot traffic helps. You understand. Every bit of foot traffic definitely helps. Hold on just a minute. I'm going to adjust my camera here in a minute. Yeah. The ads are ridiculous on Twitch. That's why I freaking hate them. I mean, there are some ads on some channels, Luna, that are upwards of 6 minutes. I can't. I actually had the option of setting them that high. I could not torture my my peeps like that. No way. No way, no how. 6 minutes of ads? You're kidding, right? That would drive away most of my clientele. Everybody would leave. There's no way I would torture people or torment people with that much ad coverage. No way. A minute and a half. That's long enough. That's long enough. I'm actually considering dropping it to 30 seconds just to see how big of a hit I'll take. You know, maybe that'll change things a bit, 30 minutes, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, yeah. Yeah. I might have to eventually, too. By the way, Luna, I finally have reached 150 followers on Twitch. Really should have had a celebration stream about that, but, I don't like bragging about it. Maybe a bigger milestone, like 250 or 300, What do you think? 250 or 300 I should celebrate? Once I really get my legs underneath me? I think 300 would be a better number. Once I get closer to that, 2 to 300, yeah. 150, it's marginal success. 200, definitely a good milestone. What I'm going to do, Luna, is I'm probably going to do a New Year's. What holidays are coming up? Let me look at my calendar. What holidays are coming up? I'm trying to plan, right? I could do some special streams around certain holidays too. That's something I've thought about doing for this channel. Let me see. What month are we in? We're in August, right? I think, yeah, federal holiday. Thinking about doing some holiday streams as well. Thanksgiving Day might be one, or whatever they call it here in the U.S. I forget what they call it now. But it's just ideas. Oh, Labor Day. Labor Day will be September 1st and 7th. One of the other holidays, though, falls around CitizenCon, so I can skip that comfortably. Just ideas, Luna. I am planning to do a Christmas Eve stream, which would be either a Christmas Eve or Christmas Day stream. You know what I mean? Which do you think would work better? A lot of people are home on Christmas, but they're not available, you know? There's a lot of people who won't be home for Christmas, right? New Year's is a definite must. You know, I did that last year and I got good results. I don't know if you were part of that, Luna. Space Tomato dumped almost 280 people in my lap New Year's Eve last year. It was fun. The big boss Tomato jumped 150 people, over 200 people in my lap. That was fun. All right. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, Christmas, maybe Christmas Eve would set me off from them. You know, Christmas is one thing, but, you know, Christmas Eve would be different. Yeah, there are a lot of people. Yeah, I might think about it as we get closer to Christmas. New Year's as well, because some people have a rough year and they need a little cheering up. Ugh. I think I did a July 4th stream this year too, but I can't remember. Yeah. What time is it? It's 11:40. Yeah, I understand that, Luna. You're gonna have a lot of stuff going on during the holiday season. A lot of people do. You know, either traveling or work or, you know, just general whoop-de-doo stuff, right? Speaking of things, I need to check on my grandmother and my uncle probably here in the next few days. Haven't heard from them in a while. One of them lives in the neighboring town, but I do need to check on them. My grandmother's getting up into her lower 80s, so I am getting a little concerned as she gets older, her health and stuff. Definitely need to keep an eye on her. We've had some people that are not so nice in and around the neighborhoods around here. Huh. Oh, I also have an anniversary stream. Yes, I do. I am very worried about her because, she's getting older and I don't know what I'm going to do. By the way, chat, big news, big push for potential wave 3 tonight. If the build goes well, it'll be wave 3. So keep that in mind. Cross your fingers. A little bit about my grandmother. She's from the old coal mines of West Virginia. She grew up in and around some very rough people, growing up. Love her to death. She's a no nonsense woman and very proud of her. Very proud of her. Oh, shoot. Uh. What? Oh. Yeah, I know about those kind of people, those people that you have in your family, Luna. Some of them, you just pray that they don't find out you're dating a non-traditional relationship or whatever, and hope to God, you don't get exiled from the family. Joking, of course, but there are some people, that have that old school wall of thinking, that haven't really gotten the whole acceptance that people have today. And I'm truly sad there are some people like that. My dad was one of those people. He couldn't accept that I was good with technology. A little bit about my stepdad. He was not good with technology, but I was. But he never, ever accepted me for not becoming a football player or, something non-traditional. He always made the comment that I was wasting my time playing blanking video games. Okay, just a bit about his character. It's kind of not amusing, when you think about it. Kind of made me angry. He always made that comment. You're going to waste your life playing blanking video games. Now, I did respect my dad, but I didn't respect his opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinion. Even though it's his house, I listen to his wishes. Doesn't mean I have to respect his opinion. That being said, there were numerous things we butted heads on. Numerous things growing up. I mean, yeah, sure, he may have had his way of looking out for me, but there were things that he said to me growing up that were, how do I put it, not pleasant. Sorry, I'm dwelling on this, Luna. It's just my growing up was not a very positive place to an extent. There are parts of it I wish I could redo. Sure, there's a lot of things I wish I could have said better, Definitely. Either way, I understand that. I do. Constructive criticism is one thing, Luna. Destructive criticism is another. He had a level of favoritism with his own son, too, over me and my brother. Basically, I'm not proud of admitting that. I talk about it a lot in counseling, mainly, and I recommend it to anyone who has real issues with their family. Don't dwell on it. Holding it in only makes it worse. Uh, by the way, today's ship showdown is between the SCV and the Ursa Medevac. So get out there and vote, people. Huh? Oh, never mind. Huh. That's all right. What time is it? Oh, here in about when's the podcast? Yeah, you're all right, Luna. Hey, have you finished your master grade yet? Or are you getting close? Figured I'd ask. %. Cool. That's good to know. Good to hear. Huh. Man. My nose. Yeah, I'm debating getting a model camera. That way I can do like, model kit builds and stuff. Hey, who's over on Kit? If you don't mind me asking. Head mounted GoPro when sharing. When I was working with my brother, I have a pretty expensive setup. Yeah, I don't know if I have that kind of money to dump into it. I've thought about getting a downward facing camera, but how much would that be, Could be expensive. Yeah, I think you've told me once or twice about your setup, and it's really impressive, Luna. Really impressive. Wow. Well, that explains why, yeah. $40K is something I could never get into. I just don't know why. Doesn't make any sense, you know? Why haven't I been able to get into 40K? Right? Right. You would think I would be able to, but he loves tabletop stuff. Yeah, I can see that. I'm debating doing a build stream for New Year's. You know, just getting a camera aimed downward, and you know, I'd have to have multiple camera inputs, but one aimed at the table I'm building with, and the other aimed at downward, you know, like this downward. Table here, camera here, and so I can take pictures or footage. There's nobody online today. It's a Friday. Does he paint his figures too? A lot of people do. Ah. You have the perfect amount of over obsessive compulsive D to do it. Yes. I don't really paint my builds, but I'm getting to the point where I want a bit more perfection in what I do. So, yeah, that's starting to happen a lot more, you know. Or what? Oh, never mind. Okay. All good. Oh. Here in about 20 minutes, I'm probably going to have to eat something because I haven't ate today. Yeah. I have not ate at all today. Whew. But that's going to be for a bit. Do you think we're going to see anything fun at SitCon? We're not expecting, Luna. I know I keep asking it, but we are getting ever closer to the date, you know? We are getting ever closer to CitizenCon. Uh, I think there's some surprises that we might get that we haven't been expecting. You know, pleasant ones, not unpleasant. At least it's my hope. Well, I'm just saying gameplay wise, your gameplay loops that are almost done, you know, anything that they've talked about over the last year. I guess we'll have to wait for next week. They are supposed to update the progress tracker. I'm voting it's a 50-50 shot now of them updating the actual progress tracker. So we'll have to see. I believe more stuff that's on the physical roadmap than I do Hopium. Anyway, I will believe either roadmap or background work whenever it gets scheduled. That's my deal. Hopium leads to ruin. Hopium leads to sadness and doom and darkness. Nice. Right. Alrighty. Alrighty. It's all good. I mean, everybody has whatever makes them tick. Yep. Whatever makes them tick, basically, is what they should go with. You know, their gut or whatever. Yeah, it has been for the progress tracker. Didn't it only update in October last year? I think that's the last time the progress tracker was updated last year. Let me see. October, yeah. No, up till December of 2023. The old progress tracker was updated. December 2023. We don't even know what they're working about in the background right now. So it's a huge mystery. Everything we see right now is up front and in the front line, which is okay, but still it limits what we can see. At least what I think. Yeah. I know one thing. The stuff we hear at CitizenCon should be interesting. I'll believe more of it when I see it on stage announced than I will a progress track. I still think it's amazing, though, that even though this game is incomplete, the changes that have happened since I came in. When I came in 3.8, Crusader and even Microtech didn't even exist. Neither of those planets were landable or you could go anywhere near them. Nowhere near them. Kind of hilarious. I mean, I'm just amazed at how things have changed over time, Luna. It's kind of funny. Fitting, but funny, you know. Oh, hear him out. Well, I'm talking about the actual game, the substance of the game. When I came in, there was no salvage. Mining was in a terrible place. It kind of still is, but it's still better than it was. The only real way to make money was combat, maybe cargo. 30Ks were far more rampant. Far more rampant. I mean, I couldn't even stay on the game as long as I have been doing. Back when I started playing in 3.7, it would go maybe 30 minutes. I said mining still is in a bad state. I don't think you heard me. It's still pretty rough. Salvage wasn't even in yet. The cargo stuff that just came in wasn't even in. It's kind of ludicrous, the changes that have come in. Back then, if you would have told me, I would have been playing this game a lot, almost career-like, I would have laughed at you. But here I am, probably 5 years later. I have a gaming PC that can actually run Star Citizen, and, you know, thank you, Red. Howdy, howdy. Red Stranger's an old friend, by the way, Luna Maria. I know. Yeah, that deep core mining stuff, you're not kidding. Oh my. So, I'm glad the hydrate thing works. It's funny. Red Stranger, by the way, how goes it in Minecraft at the moment? How's your server doing? No troublemakers this time, right? I hope. Figured I'd ask about that, Red. Last time we talked about your Minecraft stuff, there were some people in there causing issues. I trust they got dealt with. Hopefully. Either way, what was I talking about? Okay. Yeah. Uh if the progress tracker gets updated, I suspect on release view, we're going to see at least 2 updates past 4.0. We're going to see 4.1 and 4.2. Whatever's in those patches is probably going to be very interesting. We'll see. I'm holding out hope we actually do get the progress tracker updated, but I'm not holding my breath, folks. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, where'd everybody go? Either way, I gotta finish up stream for today. What is this? Oh. Okay, I am Gonna have to eat something, chat. On Twitch, I'm gonna raid somebody. I don't know who. Actually, I do know who. Follow. They just got on. That's weird. Huh. That's interesting. Interesting. Same category. That's weird. Had to swap. Yeah, no problem, Luna. It's all good. Stuff happens. I know. Yeah. Twitch has been really aggressive with freaking ads as of late, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Oh my gosh. Gotcha. What I'm trying to do here, see if I can read them. Huh. Let me see. That's odd. Maybe I got. It's odd. Hold on. That's odd. Huh.
When you say bread.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to. Miss Tomato is streaming. Tomato is finished. Okay, that explains it. That explains it. You're right, Luna. Right. I'll. Do I follow Mrs. Tomato? I don't know if I do. Hold on. Yes. Hang on. Chat, I intend to give her. Okay. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Actually.
Have you not been following?
Follow. There we go. Okay. So, forgive the audio chat. I was trying to find her. That was embarrassing. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so now that I've figured that out, it's kind of embarrassing, but okay. Figured it out, Luna. I'm going to send you, yeah, that way. Later, Luna. You have fun.